Not in the name of the Most High.
We begin by praising Allah Azza wa Jal, Lord of the Alameen, which is mankind and jinn, everything that exists. And we bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his slave and his messenger. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Qur'an, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah, the fear that He deserves, and die not except in a state of Islam, which is absolute submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. My dear brothers in Islam, a man once visited the graveyard. He wanted to visit his friend. And while he was there, he felt a bit tired, felt a bit sleepy. So he decided that he'll take a nap. But before that, he said, let me pray 2 rak'at. And as he was praying those 2 rak'at and finished, he remembers putting his head down as he was lying down, and he was thinking to himself, and why did I do that for? Why was my prayer so quick, so little concentration, no dua, no long surah, ila akhirih? So he was belittling his prayer, and he fell asleep thinking and belittling his prayer. And while he was asleep, his friend visited him in his dream, and he told him, see that prayer that you just prayed, that prayer that you just belittled? He said, yes. He said, by Allah, I would give everything I own, or I ever owned, to have the reward of those 2 rak'at in my grave right now. So on one hand, he was belittling the prayer, and on the other hand, the other man would have given anything to get the reward of those 2 rak'at in his grave. My dear brothers in Islam, time is our most precious commodity. It's our most valuable resource that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us. Because never, no matter what you do, can you ever get 1 second back, nor could you ever get 1 second extra. No matter what you do, money, health, family, whatever it is in this dunya, it goes and comes, except for time. Like that brother who was in this area, who was diagnosed with cancer. They told him, there's no point in doing any treatment. You got no time left. He put $700,000. $700,000 to take himself, his family, and the doctors that he wanted to treat him on a first-class flight to Germany. As soon as he got there, he died. Time is our most precious resource. Like that doctor a few years ago in the newspaper. She was operating on a man for 18 hours on a patient. 18 hours she was operating on him, and then she had a stroke and died, and he lived. My dear brothers in Islam, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Qur'an, فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ لَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. And when that time comes for you, for them, every nation, every people, every individual, never could they delay it 1 hour, nor precede it, make it come forward. Just like that man, I was in the taxi on the way to university, my first year. And I was sitting in the back, and the taxi driver was talking to the passenger. And he's telling the passenger, as we were passing a certain corner, he goes, you know that corner over there? He goes, I used to sell coffee there for 20 years. He goes, one day, I got up in the morning, I prepared my coffee cart, and I went to that corner, and I found someone else standing there. He goes, first I told him to move. Then it turned into an argument. Then it turned into shouting and screaming. Then it turned into swearing. Then we actually fought and hit each other for that spot. Until finally I said to myself, you know, I've been working here for 20 years. Let me give it a break today. But let me guarantee you something. If I come back here tomorrow and find you here, I'm going to end you. He turns around and walks 100 meters, and a bomb falls on that guy, on that corner, and he dies. 20 years he worked there. And the day it wasn't his time to go, he can't proceed it. And the day it was the other guy's time to go, he was literally standing there, fighting, shouting, screaming, swearing, punching on for the spot to die. He was punching on for the spot that he was going to die in. Look what his final actions were. My dear brothers in Islam, time is so important, and there is absolutely nothing we can do about it. Completely powerless. Completely powerless to change anything. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Qur'an, كَلَّا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ التَّرَاقِ, and when the soul reaches the collarbone, وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ, and it is said, who can cure him? Allah's putting forth a challenge. The person is dying right in front of you. His soul's reaching his collarbone. Bring your doctors. Bring your medicine. Bring your technology. Bring your wealth. Bring whatever you want. Let me see you cure him. And then to take the challenge further, Allah Azza wa Jal in another verse He says, فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ, and when the soul reaches the throat, وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ, and you're standing right there watching. He's right in front of you. You're watching him dying in front of you. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْكُمْ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. Allahu Akbar. Not only can't you do anything about it, but Allah says, we are closer to him than you. You're standing right above him, but He's telling you, we are closer to him than you. Not only can't you do anything about it, but you can't even see us there. وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. You can't even see what's going on. You can't even see the angels ripping out his soul. You're standing there and we're between him and you. That's how close we are. SubhanAllah, completely hopeless and powerless to do anything. Time is our most valuable commodity, and it is so important, it is so significant, it is so dear, it is so great that Allah Azza wa Jal in several ayat He swears by it. Wal Asr, I swear by the time. Wal Duha, Wal Fajr, Wal Layli idha yakhsha, Wal Nahari idha tajalla. All these are oaths by time. Because it is so great that the greatest has sworn by it. Why is He swearing by it again and again? To show us the importance of every second He gives us. Every moment He gives us. And as Muslims, we're supposed to even take it a step further. We're supposed to understand the importance even more than others. Why? Because as Muslims we know when we die, that's it. It's over. No second chance. No matter what you do, no matter how much you scream and beg. What's the number one scream of the people of hellfire? Rabbi irji'un. Oh God, send me back. What do they want? Just a few minutes extra. لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا. They want a few minutes extra just to do some good. So that I might do some good in that which I left behind. But they don't get anything. Not even a second, not even a microsecond. Sayyidina Sulaiman, when he was standing there and the man came to visit him, SubhanAllah, I know probably most of the people here have heard it, but doesn't it blow your mind? He's coming to visit the Prophet of Allah and he sees a man standing there and he had a very stern and severe look on his face. So as soon as he got to Sulaiman, he goes, "Ya Sulaiman, who's this man? You know, he seems like he's out to get me." Sayyidina Sulaiman tells him he's the angel of death. He goes, "By the look on his face, I know he's out to get me. Use the winds and send me to India." They were in Palestine, halfway across the world. So Sayyidina Sulaiman makes dua and the winds take him to India. As soon as that happened, the angel of death smiles. So Sayyidina Sulaiman looks at him and tells him, "Ya Malik al-Maut, and why are you smiling?" He goes, "I'm smiling because Allah Azza wa Jal told me to take his soul in a few minutes in India, and I didn't know how I was going to do that while he's here." قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مُلَاقِيكُمْ. Death doesn't chase us. Death waits for us. It's waiting somewhere. We're going to go and come and buy and sell, and we're going to do everything we have to do. We're going to come to it. It's going to be standing there waiting for us. To the extent that on the Day of Judgment, when that horn is blown, one blow of a horn, my dear brothers in Islam, every single living creation, be it angels, jinn, animals, mankind, will cease to exist. Imagine the strength Allah Azza wa Jal has given the angel of death. So my dear brothers in Islam, it's very important to make most of our time. Especially since we know that we don't get a second chance. Whatever we've done in this life, that's all we can stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal with. Allah Azza wa Jal, He tells us through the Prophet ﷺ in many ahadith to make the most of our time, to do as much good as we can, to build up our bank account of hasanat. Why? Because the only currency in the akhirah is your hasanat. Just like you've got money now, you can buy, you can invest, you can work with it. Any form of currency you could use and you can make money these days. In the akhirah, it's only hasanat. The amount of hasanat you get, that's what you can buy in Jannah. Not enough hasanat, sayyat buy you hellfire. So my dear brothers in Islam, the question is, what are we spending our time on? You ask a brother, you call him up, you tell him, brother, how are you, how's things, what are you doing? Well, I've been watching the soccer game for the past 5 hours. Why? Well, I'm bored, I'm killing time. No. By Allah, it's killing you. That sister, our wives, our daughters, our mothers, when we come home on the phone, Fasad book or Insta fitna, what are you doing? Hours on end. I'm wasting time. By Allah, it's wasting you. By Allah, it's literally wasting you. See, when we look at a clock, we're actually looking at ourselves die. Every tick of that clock, we're watching ourselves die. Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr. I swear by the time Allah Azza wa Jalla says that every single person is in a state of loss. That's it. The second you're born, the countdown timer starts. The second you're born, you're just what? Fading away. Your time is fading away. What are we doing with our time? The companions and the pious predecessors, our scholars and the righteous people, they understood the value of time. They understood that Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Qur'an, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Race, hasten to the forgiveness of your Lord and a paradise whose width is the size of the heavens and the earth. They understood the verse, وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal emphasizes twice, the forerunners, the ones who race, who hasten, who compete with each other to do hasanat. أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. They are the ones who are close to Allah Azza wa Jal. فِي جَنَّاتِ النَّعِيمِ. In gardens of pleasure. And listen to these two verses. ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. A great number of people from the former peoples. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. And only a small number of the later peoples. May Allah make us of them. My dear brothers in Islam, time is so important that Ibn al-Qayyim, he said, wasting time is worse than death. Wasting time is worse than death. Because when you waste time, when you die, you separate yourself from the dunya. But when you waste time, you separate yourself from Allah. They understood the value. Imam al-Nawawi, one of our greatest scholars of the past, the one who every single household has Riyadh al-Salihin, he wrote it. The 40 Nawawi, we all teach our kids it. He used to be seen running through the streets. Ya Imam, why are you running? He says, why should I waste those few minutes walking from class to class? Another scholar would pay someone to read to him the books of knowledge while he's in the bathroom, so he doesn't waste those few minutes. He'd sit a few meters away and he'd get the person to literally read the knowledge of Allah, so he doesn't waste those few minutes. Ibn Taymiyyah, also one of the great scholars of the past, when his family went on an outing and he refused to go, when they came back, oh Ibn Taymiyyah, you missed out on such a trip, you missed out on such fun, you missed out. He goes, no, but Allah, you missed out. He's telling his family, his mom, dad, his brothers and sisters, you missed out. What do you mean? He goes, from the time you left and came back, I memorized this entire book. And his father tested him and he had memorized it. Look at the value of time. Look at what the value of time meant to them, and look at what they achieved because they took advantage of it. Because they made the most of it. My dear brothers in Islam, time is our most precious commodity. That being said, would we accept anyone to call us a fool? I wouldn't accept someone to call me a fool, even if I'm doing something foolish. Listen to the hadith of Rasulullah. He said, a wise man is the one who judges himself and does good deeds to benefit him after death. And the fool, he continued, and the foolish person is the one who follows his desires, committing every sin that he wants to, and then merely hopes in the mercy of Allah. He does whatever he wants and he merely hopes that Allah will forgive him. I'm pretty sure we've all experienced that. Brother, this is haram. Allah Ghafoor Rahim. Do you know what you say when you believe that? When you believe that you do whatever you want and Allah will forgive you, do you know what you're actually saying? You're saying Allah is oppressive. You're saying Allah is oppressive, and Allah Azza wa Jal, the first thing He ever did was forbid or make haram on Himself oppression. Because for a Lord to put the person who done good all his life and help people in the same place as the person who sinned and harmed people his entire life, that's an oppressive God. So when you do whatever you want of sins and harm people and then expect Allah just to forgive you like that, you're saying Allah is oppressive. What a foolish person to say that Allah is oppressive, the most just. So if I were to buy a house, right? 20, 30 years I spend working hard to pay it off. And then at the end of those 20, 30 years, I see a lady around the corner changing her son's diapers. And I tell her that I'll swap that dirty diaper for my house. Give me that dirty diaper and I'll give you my house. What would you call that person? The minimum you'd call him is a fool. I know he's probably thinking, oh, Shaykh, you're being unrealistic, that won't really happen. It's happening. Worse than that is happening. Because when you give, or sacrifice a paradise whose size is the heavens and the earth, whose width is the size of the heavens and the earth, a paradise, the Prophet ﷺ said, one stick is better than this whole world and everything that's in it. A paradise where Rasulullah ﷺ will be your companion. A paradise where you see Allah for this filthy, rotten place, this dunya, this lowly thing. You're doing worse than that man who gives up his house for that dirty diaper. This world is worth nothing. Not even the wing of a mosquito. At least if there was two wings, the mosquito would fly. So completely worthless. Yet we're giving up our akhirah for this filthy, scummy place. Allahu Akbar. And then we don't like when someone calls us a fool. SubhanAllah. So my dear brothers in Islam, we have to use our time wisely. 70 years, let's say 75. 25 we spend sleeping. 25 we spend working. There's only 25 left. Don't we eat, don't we sleep, don't we drink, don't we change our clothes, have showers, give family time? If you calculate it all, what's left out of the 25? Another 10? 10 years. 10 years, Allah Azza wa Jalla is asking you, give me a bit of time from those 10 years. And I'll give you a place no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard, and no mind can even imagine or contemplate or comprehend what's there. One of the ladies of the past, when she heard, when her son had died and she was crying over the grave, the Prophet of that time told her, why are you crying? She said, my son, he died. He was only young. How old was he? He was 300 years old. Back when they lived long years. 300 and he was still a baby. So this Prophet told her, how would you react if I were to tell you that there will come a time when people, their entire lives would be 60 to 70 years? You know what this lady said? She said, by Allah, if I lived at that time, I would put my head in sujood and not raise it until I meet Allah. 10 years free time out of 75. And we don't want to give anything to Allah Azza wa Jal. For a place you'll never go hungry again. You'll never go thirsty again. You'll never be angry, depressed, upset, agitated, jealous ever again. No more sickness, no more hardship. Subhanallah. What a fool that person would be who would give up that for that. So my dear brothers in Islam, let us use our wise timely. Let us use our time wisely. Yeah, that was bad. Let us cut that out, Salim. Let us use our time wisely, and remember always the scholars of the past. As soon as they hit 40, they would completely retract themselves from the dunya and go into ibadah, because they knew what's left of their time is less than what they've already lived. They already passed halfway. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers in Islam, just to show us how far away we are from the proper understanding of our deen, let me tell you something, or ask a question. If today I lost my wallet, a few $100s in there and I lost it, or I got my phone stolen, how upset would I be? Shouting, screaming, some people swear, some people do kufr straight away. As soon as anything wrong happens, they do kufr. Over what? Something, a few $100s that probably won't even last us a week. Or a phone that we probably have 20 times the amount saved up in our bank accounts, what it's worth. And we'd get upset and angry and agitated, maybe swear, maybe even Allah alam what. But if we were to waste our money exchange, our time that Allah wants us to exchange into hasanat so we can get the highest levels, if we were to waste that time which translates into Jannah in the Akhirah, that time which is our most valuable commodity, if we were to waste that time and give up a life of perpetually increasing pleasure and end up in a place of perpetually increasing punishment, we wouldn't be as sad. Sadaqa Rasulullah when he spoke about the wise man and the foolish person. It's like my boss telling me, work with me this week and I'll pay you $200 a day. But if you wait till the end of the month, I'll give you 100 million. And that person didn't do it. What a fool. Allah Azza wa Jal is telling you the akhirah is not hundreds, not billions, not trillions, is infinitely better than this dunya. Yet any tiny piece of dunya that we lose, that it isn't even worth anything in this world, we'd get upset. But to miss out on hasanat and levels and rewards in Jannah that will never end and will constantly become better, we wouldn't get as upset. If that's not a fool, I don't know what it is. May Allah give us the proper understanding. May Allah make us of the wise. My dear brothers, the simplest thing in Jannah, the simplest thing, a tree, an apple. If you ate it, every bite will become better. Can you even understand that? Can you comprehend it? The second bite is better than the first, the third better than the second, the fourth. But my only question is, how can you stop? I can't understand how, if something keeps getting tastier and tastier, how you could stop and you never get full. So how could this person stop? It doesn't make sense. Yet we'd give that up to eat a little piece of something that's haram here in this dunya. Or the women of paradise, you give that up for, pornography or a one-night stand or a piece of trash that looked at you or smiled at you. Subhanallah. There's some ayat in the Qur'an, I don't know if this is the right time to say it, but some ayat in the Qur'an that just, they blow your mind about the women of paradise. One of the ayat is referring to how the nur, the light, the beauty that's emanating from the Hur al-Ain in paradise will be seen from her bone marrow, through the skin, through the flesh, through the bone. So much nur and beauty will be emanating from this woman that the beauty from her bone marrow would be seen outside. Something you can't even comprehend. And you'd give that up for what? Subhanallah, may Allah Azza wa Jal make us of the wise. Time is our most valuable asset. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who hear and apply the best of what is being said. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who make the best of our time. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who fill our time with righteous action so we can get the highest levels. Alhamdulillah.
Jannah, 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 Jannah. Every Muslim dreams to be up in Jannah, 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 Jannah. A pious person's destiny. Inshallah in Jannah, 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 Jannah.